Good evening and welcome along to the Blues Brothers podcast, the alternative Rangers podcast. There's a pandemic sweeping through the east end of Glasgow after the Wilfred Nancy Bhoys succumbed to battle fever. An inspired second half performance saw Ysef Cheriti pay every penny back of the £8 million transfer and ensured Kevin Thelwell is the first name on the 2026 honours list. Danny Rule does what Clement, Beale and Gio could not do before him, and that is win at Parkhead. So is now the time for the board to back our manager in the transfer window as we now set our sights on Hearts in the chase for the title. Joining me to discuss all that and more is my very good friend on our very first match reaction pod, Mr. Ross Clark. Ross, how are we, mate?
Very good, mate. Very good. High in spirits, Davie. Was looking forward to our first match pod. I suppose it's a breakfast tradition, wasn't it, then the Tuesday night. How are you? I know you're not keeping too great, so don't you be going OTT on this.
I'm battling away, mate. You never know. We have invited two of our old friends onto the show tonight, so they might appear to give us a wee hand, mate. But certainly, it's good to see some familiar faces in the comments and everybody joining us on the back of what was a fantastic second half performance today, Ross. But a great result first and foremost, and I think a wee bit of context because we did sort of speak during the week that our fear was going to be that we weren't sure if Danny Rule could get that monkey off his back, but he went and got it off his back the day, mate, and he's done it quicker than any of our three previous managers, so that bodes well for the rest of the season, surely.
Mate, as I said last week, I've grossly underestimated Danny Rule, and it's good for me to be able to come here and say that he's got a bit about him. Yeah, I don't think you can take that away from him. First half of the day, half time, you're cussing. I thought he could have changed that after 20 minutes, but to be fair to Jack Butland as well, and I'm sure we'll go on to him, we had spoke about he needed a big old firm performance, and the first half of the day, it gives the goal for me, but solid. Second half came, took the pressure off, killed the game when he had to kill it, and it allowed Danny Rule to get to half time where he then makes a change, and the whole game changed on the back of that. So honestly, mad props for Danny Rule and his tactical awareness and the wee tweaks that, as we said, he's starting to produce in games now that he knows the players and the players' capabilities and the squad's capabilities as well, Davie. So massive well done to Danny Rule and the job he's done since he came into the club.
So let's talk about the starting 11, because we spoke about it during the week and it was the starting 11 that we had hoped it would be, but maybe not necessarily the shape in what we expected, Ross. And in regards to, there's lots of positives to come to, and don't get me wrong, we won't miss anybody when we're speaking about the positives. But in terms of the disappointments, mate, is Tello Asgard probably the only disappointment on the day in regards to the fact that it's another big game that's passed them by, and that sort of early booking round about the 7th minute sort of nullified himself out the rest of the game, and he just doesn't impact these games as much as a player he has alleged potential probably should in this case.
Mate, I'm sick of after results don't go for us complaining about refs, right? And I've said this to you before. I feel as if Diamande sometimes gets refed out of games by getting booked for his first foul, and that's what happened to Asgard today. Asgard has a wee half tug back, gets the booking, and then literally 3 or 4 minutes later, Engels does the exact same thing. And see, in the midfield engine room in an Old Firm game, see if you're going to get booked till the doors, you've got to make it worth your while, which you never done. And for me at that point, Asgard, he can't make a tackle, he can't put himself about, he can't lead the press, because as soon as he clips somebody, he's sent off. I would actually, as I say, I think Danny Rule could have made that sub after 25 minutes. And if not for the goalkeeping ability of Jack Butland in the first half, you're potentially cussing that. But Diamande deserves major props as well, Davie, because he has been really poor. He's been ill-disciplined, he's been lazy in the tackle for weeks now, and we've called it out on here, but I think when he came in the day, he was bang on it. and maybe that is the wee bit up the arse that he needed when it came to dropping him out for the game and then having to bring him back in. So on Asgard, I think he was refed out the game, but it's another big game that's gone by him for what he was doing.
Now, see, on the starting 11, mate, the thing that I sort of spoke about during the week was that I felt that we had to have defenders who can defend, because that is the important bit for me in games like the day. We've been far too open at times and we've not managed to keep them out. Is the introduction of Dujon Sterling at right back a massive plus for us, and a fit Dujon Sterling at that? Because I look at Tavernier and Aarons when they've played in these type of games, and whilst Tavernier can at times offer you product at set pieces on occasions, defensively we have been open there in behind, especially with Dies and Maida. But I have to say that is one of the most ineffectual games Dies and Maida's ever had against us. And don't get me wrong, he did have one shot at goal when he was really unlucky with that effort. But on the whole, Dujon Sterling kept him relatively quiet. Is that the type of player, leader that we've been sadly missing in these type of games?
I think what Dujon Sterling gives you first and foremost is a really good defender with recovery pace. And I think in these games, when you've got the attacking options, the likes of your Gasamas and Moores, the reliance shouldn't be on your right or your left back for that matter to get up the park. See if we can defend first and foremost. And I thought that Dujon Sterling was what he always gives you, anywhere between a 7 and a 9 out of 10. And he was probably an 8 out of 10 the day. Never done anything spectacular, but at the same time, never made any of the wee daft mistakes that are often so costly for us in these games. And Maida, he never done anything, I know, Davie, and it's very rare that you say that, and especially in these games. So Sterling, as we spoke about last week, Sterling's got to be now looked at as the right back, and you can swap him, as Danny Rule did through the week, bring him out when you need to, and put Tav in to ensure that he gets this next 6 months in the last end of this season to really get a 6 month string of games together, so that come the start of next season, he is your first choice right back. And as we've also said, keep him at right back. Don't put him in midfield where he's doing totally different job with a totally different physical resource on his body. Don't be putting him in at centre half. Just allow him now to just go and naturally, holistically grow into Rangers' first choice right back. That's what I would like to see.
See, beside him, mate, and I've criticised John Souttar at times this season. I thought he was excellent during the week, bar that one mistake, and even the manager touched on it. But with the captain's armband on the day, did he give a leading performance? Was he outstanding the day for you? And did he probably manage Fernandes through the game? Is that a fair point as well?
Mate, we've said Fernandes needs somebody who is a bit of a leader beside him. And all of a sudden, overnight, he's got two, Souttar and Sterling. And the good thing about Sterling for me as well is he knows what he's come in and bought into Rangers and the club and the ethos of everything that we are. And he hates Celtic every bit as much as me and you hate Celtic already. You can tell that for his mannerisms and the way he speaks about them. And you remember last year the Instagram post about playing in their shite hole and all that sort of stuff. So that's the kind of temperament and the kind of leaders that we need. John Souttar, as we said the other day, mate, the Managerial RSC, he has came back and he looks athletic. He actually reminds me very much of the boy Halkett at Hearts, who went away this pre-season and came back a stone and a half lighter and just looks instantly more mobile, more aggressive, can get up half the ground a bit more. Souttar, for me, has been really impressive the game since he came back.
See, as well, mate, as we've already alluded to, we will come to the positives going forward. In the first half, Ross, was there elements of the game that worried you? Do you think when we were getting dominated at times, it was our tactical setup, or did you think it was a mental aspect, because I get right for the start of the second half, the tactical tweaks in terms of, the introduction of Diamandi and how we pressed them changed things. But I felt in the first half, we were far too passive, because the first maybe 5-6 minutes, we got the ball forward quickly, as we spoke about. But then it almost seemed for that Asgard booking that switched the momentum in the game, and we sort of sat off them. And I think when we invite that needless pressure, we invite needless balls down the channels, and we kind of look lost chasing the ball in behind. And obviously the goal came about for a cheap throw in, and Yang went on amazing, run about 6 guys, and not one of them put in a half decent challenge. So is that, or aspects of that, concern you going forward?
I think that we're just a really young team, quite an inexperienced team that are growing into Rangers jerseys. The first half, I thought Gasama looked as if he'd filled his nappy. I thought every touch he took, Tony Ralston was absolutely bullying Mikey Moore. Cheriti, whenever the ball went near him, held it up well, but we weren't really involved. And it looked to me as if quite a lot of the time we were being forced into going that 3 at the back, with Gasama working back and making it that kind of 5 that we have played with. Whereas in the second half, with the introduction of Diamandi, we went to that flat 4 with a 3, and we really took control of the midfield, because as we spoke about, Asgard getting booked, he dropped out the game altogether. So you had Raskin and Barron in there playing against their 3, and that didn't really work for us. So I think that the first half, to sum it up, we never showed up. We never showed the Rangers that we have shown over the last few weeks. And we were lucky to get in at halftime at 1-0, based on the chances, the possession, the shots. I just didn't think we turned up. And whatever happened at halftime, Rule takes a lot of the credit for the tactical tweak he made and the way we changed in our press. But there must have been big voices in the dressing room, and you wonder if that comes from Sterling and Butland and Suter and players like that, because the whole mentality in the second half changed, and we came out a different team, as if we really believed that we could go and hurt Celtic. Now, we spoke maybe a couple of weeks ago, when we were first previewing this, that Celtic came out and blew Livingston away in the first half hour, Dundee United away in the first half hour, Motherwell never gave them a kick, but there was another game before that where they looked really good for half an hour, and then they run out of ideas. We said it on the pod. I watched it back the other night, and I think that's potentially what happened. They huffed, puffed, and tried to blow the house down, and went in 1-0. And then when they came out in the second half, they didn't have any ideas, and we just kind of steamrolled them, didn't we? So it really is the game of two halves.
Now, see on Jack Butland, mate, I think you made a fair point at the start of the show, and he grew into it. And this is the one Old Firm performance that I think you can say he commanded a presence and was key. I think the save for Kenny was crucial in the game, in the moment it happened, and how good a save it was. And he palmed it away for trouble and not out into danger as well, which I also thought made it an even better save in terms of quick reactions and getting down. But on the goal, mate, if I'm being super critical, you being a goalkeeper, how would you analyse the goal that we lost in terms of for a goalkeeping perspective? Because I'm looking at it for the high behind camera for a hint of goal, and it looks as if it's almost head height, just slightly to the left of Butland. Could he not adjust his position or his hands there to make a better effort, or is there just too much power in that shot there?
For me, he's got to save it. When you see it from behind the goal, he's got to save it. But again, similar to the game the other night where he saves a penalty and the Hearts game, I really struggled, Davie, to go too much in on Butland now, because coming out the back of that game, he's letting a goal he should have saved. Snipers said it there. It's at his near post, entering in at that near post, he doesn't seem to adjust. But mate, I'm not going to stick the boot into Butland after the Days game again, because even in the second half, as I say, he started coming for crosses. There was one somebody headed that was going towards the back post, and he's just up Chris Sutton, I think, called it a camera save, but that's not a camera save. That's just making sure you've got your two hands on the ball and bringing it down and taking all the pressure off. And I've been critical of him a couple of times where the European game, when you're 2 minutes into injury time in the first half, he's got the ball in his hands, he kicks it along, they come back, get a corner and score a goal right on half time. So his game management and everything today was a whole lot better. He made big saves when he wanted, and we did say to him, we did say, not to him, but to Ender, it's watched the pod the other night, we did say, you've never come out an Old Firm game and said Jack Butland was the difference. But when you look at the pie they've got in goals compared to Jack Butland, the day probably did make the difference between him and my boy Cheriti. They definitely made the difference in that game, along with Diamandi's cameo in the second half.
Well, let's talk about your boy, mate, because we started this podcast about 13 weeks ago, and right on the very first podcast, you said for one substitute cameo appearance that you thought there was something there in Cheriti. You could tell with his first touch that there's something there. You're not sure if he's an 8 to 10 million pound player, but you think there's something because nobody can take the ball down like that, play the ball off like that, have 1 and 2 touch in the manner that he takes it and not be a player. And to my knowledge, you're the only Rangers podcaster that went that early and that public about it. And you've been banging on that drum for week to week. The last 2 weeks, he's put in 2 back-to-back good performances, and then that culminated today, mate, in a man-of-the-match performance where the boy was outstanding. So I'm going to leave this up to you, Ross. Sum up Ysef Cheriti, and also the fact that, mate, well done, you got it right.
Mate, as I say to you, like, you can tell that he's a cultured football player. He's a young boy, 21 years of age. He's not played football for 2 seasons. He was always going to take a while to get up to speed, but I just always thought you could see wee glimpses of technique, the way he brought the ball down on his chest, the way he could hold it up. Don't get me wrong, he didn't look like scoring, mate, but I think you'll find in our WhatsApp at 1 minute past 12 this afternoon, I did say to you, Cheriti will score 2 today, and that'll be the turning of the tide. And by 2 o'clock this afternoon, he had a song, mate. So there you go. Mate, I've just had faith in the guy. I just think if you've ever played football, you can just tell when somebody's got it. And I'm glad to have a few more on the bandwagon, because I felt as if when he scored against Kilmarnock, there could have been a turning of the tide at that moment. And at that point, he gave it this, and the fans got on his back. Whereas after the day, he's gave it the old and the big buff point at the deck and all that. So I just hope that the fans, he's got a song, the fans will now get behind him, and hopefully he can really kick on for here, Davie. I think with a couple of additions in the January window, I think he could be your number 9, and I think he's a number 9 that could score goals, and I think he'll also be a number 9 that assists goals and brings others into play if you can get a midfield runner that will run ahead of him, or somebody to play just off him and a 2 up top.
What I thought was outstanding as well, mate, was how quick he was at running with the ball, travelling with the ball, taking it with him. You see, Trusty's no slouch, mate, and Trusty was just feared to get near him because of how confidently he was taking it in his stride, and it was an accomplished finish. I know they're all going heavy on Casper the Pie Schmeichel at the minute, but I thought he did take the finish very well, mate, and I think it bodes well going forward. So in order for him to be the 9, Ross, what I would say is, did we get the right blend round about him with Moore and Gasama, or is there scope to improve that? Because is that the type of players he needs beside him in order to get the best out of this boy going forward?
Mate, I think to get the best out of him, you've seen the day that you can give him the ball at chest height and he'll bring it down. You can give him it at head height and he'll header it down for folk and or flick it on. I think what we need to do is get folk nearer to him to be able to link up, because he's the type of player that will be able to take the ball in a tight space and ping a wee 1-2 and turn and be away again. Like, he's got really good movement. So, mate, I think that he's a... Listen, I'm going to put my head on the line here and say he's the type of player that I would try and build my front four round about. I know that people like Miovski because he done it against us for Aberdeen, but see now, I would like to see what this boy's got to offer at 21 years of age. 8 million quid, 10 million quid, whatever you take it. He's paid back a good bit of that, because he's got us right back in a title race where the prize at the end of this season is automatic entry into the Champions League and a £60 million.
See on the first goal, Ross.
Yes.
Obviously, I think that what sort of went unnoticed on it, and maybe not a lot of folk has took up, is the sort of advanced position that the tactical tweak got Raskin in. Now, I know Raskin likes to bang on and tell everybody he's 6, but I think it's clear for the eyes watching the games week to week that Raskin for me is no a 6. He might want to be a 6 because that's what gets him in the Belgian team, but see, playing for Rangers and making a difference for Rangers, Nico Raskin is more effective for us the further up he is in the opposition's half of the pitch. Do you go along with that? Because the run that he went on to then square the ball for Cheriti is where we need Raskin to be.
Can I just nick in here? Because Smoke said there's no automatic entry into the Champions League. If Rangers win the league this season, Rangers go straight into the Champions League. 100%. Based on our coefficient up to the start of last season, 100% we win the league, we're automatically into the group phase of the Champions League. 100%. What did you ask me the question again, Davie? Sorry.
Raskin in an advanced position.
Sorry. Well, see last season, when Barry Ferguson came in, who we spoke about last week as well, who is one of the best of his generation, he looked at Raskin and said, "You've got more to offer than sitting in a 6." Played him in the 8, and he was on Raskin's back, challenging Raskin all the time at analysis. Why you dropping in there? You don't play there. You play there. See, when Raskin goes forward, he's not got a wide range of passing, but it gives you something different. He's got technical ability in the final third, and you've seen it. He absolutely runs Trusty down the byline. Trusty's ended up spinning his sail into the turf. He nearly ended up in Australia. So Raskin has got goals and assists to offer, mate. Raskin's got more goals and assists to offer than Connor Barron ever will, and that's why for me, Barron, who, by the way, I know that I'm a Connor Barron stan, right? But I thought he was poor today in the first half. I thought his corners today, his delivery was a mile off it. But in the second half, when Diamande and Raskin went and played together in front of him, Barron done his wee job very well, and they never really get through, Raskin and Diamande. So that's the way I want to see. That's the way I want to see Diamande playing every game. I want to see him going to Livingston and playing like that. I want to see him going to Dundee and playing like that, because we've said it on here before. How come when it comes to Old Firm games, he's one of the best players in the park, dead reliable, but then in these other games goes missing? It's as if he needs a G up, and when you play with Rangers, you've got to be able to G yourself up. So Raskin for me, playing further forward, you get the most out of him, because he's the one player in our midfield that offers you that at the moment. But as I say, I would like to have Raskin and another. I still think if we can sign a Steve Davis type to play in that 8 beside him, you'll get a lot better at your midfield 3, the blend of that.
So something that might go unnoticed today, mate, but I just want to touch on it because I didn't think he had a standout game by any stretch of the imagination. How well do you think Jayden Magoma performed at left back, mate, considering the fact that he probably get consumed by the fixture in the League Cup semi, but did he do himself justice today?
I thought he was solid. He never really seemed that troubled. I think most of the time, and even in the first half when they were getting in, it was coming down our right side between Gasama and Sterling. Magoma for me, solid. Again, solid 7 out of 10 performance today. Never put a foot wrong. Never done anything spectacular at the other end. And hopefully over the course of the next week or so, we get Penrice in, and then you've got 2 good young players vying it out, and you can drop them out, because you forget as well that the boy Magoma at 19 years of age hasn't really had a full season in senior football, especially not a club like Rangers where you're expected to win all the time. So it'd be good to be able to rotate him out and have 2 options. Magoma gives you a natural willingness to get forward, but not really giving you the end product. Whereas if you get Penrice in there and you've got Cheriti or Miovski in the box, I think you get better quality deliveries in. So, mate, a 7 out of 10 for Magoma today. No major mistakes, nothing over the top going forward, but just steady Eddie for me. What did you think of Magoma?
I kind of agree. I thought he kind of had the Papach effect today in terms of everything that he had today. He was relatively comfortable with it being flashy, and you'll take that, mate. As you say, you need these players that give you a 6.5, a 7 to 7.5 out of 10, and just do their bit for the team. I think what sort of helped us in the first half was that when we were under pressure, he was able to take the ball on his natural side and look to, move the ball quickly down the channels, which perhaps we've been lacking when it's maybe been an Aarons that's played there and the ball gets moved back inside the pitch and travels from side to side. When we were under the pressure the day we had an out ball, 9 times out of 10, the ball went back to Butland on his left-hand side to launch it forward. But occasionally, you've seen Fernandez and Magoma on the left-hand side look to play the ball down the left-hand channel. And I think that did get us a bit of joy in sort of relieving the pressure that we were under in the first half. So I was comfortable with what Magoma had to do the day, mate. But see, when we're talking about tactical tweaks and the changes that he made, right, were Rangers far more aggressive in the second half? And is that because maybe the manager thought at half-time they've threw everything at us and it's only 1-0? So now let's hunt them and apply the pressure. Do you think that was the sort of key maybe motivation behind why we actually went for it in the second half, Ross?
I think so. See, just on Great Showman's point there, Davie, I think Danny Rule was also quite wise with his selection of captain the day. Jack Butland being the vice-captain of the club, he gave Suter the armband and it let Jack Butland concentrate on just being a player within the team, not being the one that's got all the eyes on him for being the captain, and it allowed him to kind of fade into the background and then only come forward when he had saves to make. He wasn't expected to do the leading on the park and all that sort of stuff. So I thought that just kind of took the pressure off Butland and the eyes off Butland a wee bit. So I thought that was quite a good bit of man management for Danny Rule. On the halftime tweak, Celtic gave us everything they had in the first half, and they don't at the moment. They don't have a striker capable of scoring goals. The only way they looked as if they were going to score was through cutbacks or balls into box. And once we started defending them, I think that we had kind of rolled with the punches. If you rolled with the punches, depending how comical you want it to sound. So I think that Rule had kind of felt what they had to offer. It wasn't phasing them, and then he thought that we could go. But when you are in what I would have described as being a must-win game, then you're 1-0 down at half-time. You've got to tweak something and go a bit more attacking, especially when the team you're playing against are powder puff and have conceded goals. Did I hear on Super Scoreboard they've conceded 18 goals in 8 games since Nancy took the job. So they're there to be got at, and I think that we had spoke about that the other night when we had said we would have went the 4-2-3-1, but with the 3 in behind Cheriti, given kind of license to move about and create, because we thought that they were there to be got at more than they were going to get at us. And I think Rule throughout the first half obviously seen that and then made these tweaks at half time.
I think one thing that I noticed, mate, the day, because 3 of your goals came for the restarts at Shies in terms of the initial bits of play, is how quick we were to do it the day. Was the fact that James Tavernier wasn't part of the starting lineup mere a positive in the sense that we were quick to react today? You know, Tav likes to take every set piece, every shy, every throw in, and he's not getting any younger, so he takes his time moving there, and we're no quick to the restart. But the day we were, and I thought that was the one bit of difference I noticed even the last game, was that every time the ball went out, you maybe had Raskin pick the ball up or get to Magoma quickly, and they were looking to get the ball back and play very, very quickly. And that's something that we, I think, over the last 2-3 years have been guilty for. But the day when we took 3 quick restarts, we scored for every one of them. And Celtic just weren't ready for that.
It makes a difference, mate. And it's one of the things that Celtic over the last 3 or 4 years, see quick restarts, see the amount of goals and the havoc it causes, even for their by kicks, mate. The ball's hard to the line and Schmeichel's got another ball lifted up for the side of the goals. They've actually got balls sitting either side so they can even get goal kicks back in play quickly. I don't want to go into Tav bashing the night either, especially when he's not playing, because I can feel that Curry's getting aroused sitting there at the thought that we might go Tav bashing, but it slows the game down with that trudging across the park. But that again is on Scott Fry. Does he take another bit of credit in the bank here, the set piece coach, because he'll be working on shies, restarts. We've heard that last week they're really working on second balls coming off of corners and stuff. So this wee set piece guy, I feel as if now has got his feet under the table and is maybe starting to approach subjects that maybe in his first 6 weeks in the job he didn't want to say, right, take him off everything because he's causing chaos. And maybe you're now seeing the effects of that, where when Tav's not playing and it is a wee bit more fluid, it helps. Because if your right back's taking a throw in on our left wing at level with the DRR box, that naturally slows the game down for 15 seconds till he gets across. And then if they win the ball and put it into your right back area, it leaves you a man short as well. So common sense tells you that your right back shouldn't be taking every throw in for both sides. As I say, I'm very critical of his corners. Usually can't beat the first man, but I actually thought today Connor Barnes was every bit as bad. And I was actually quite happy in the second half when Magoma started putting in-swingers in on top of Schmeichel, which we thought was the approach all day, even though the one we did put right on top of him came and claimed.
Now, see the way I look at it, Ross, when you touch on Scott Fry, what I wanted to ask you as a goalkeeper in your experience, what I found interesting was, and it might have cost us the day, but it didn't, was that when we do that sort of hybrid set up at set pieces where you've got defenders attacking the spaces and then you've got some of them man-marking, that mix between zonal and man. The two that were attacking the spaces for us were Suter and Fernandez. Surely your two best attackers and headers of the ball should be the ones that are man-marking rather than attack the space. Did that worry you? Because I just think the one where Trusty got the run on Asgard and almost scored for could have cost us. I would have been much more comfortable if Fernandez or Suter was on Trusty. Was that maybe a wee bit of sort of folly on the management team's part in that regard, or did we just take it in the chin that we get away with one there?
Mate, I think if Trusty scores the header, then you question it, don't you? But Trusty's no scored the header, so you don't. It's not one of the things that you go off. We should really watching the game. I thought to myself, you take Suter or Fernandez, probably Fernandez, put him on Trusty, and then have Raskin guarding the front, and then you've got Suter kind of in the middle area picking up. But we never conceded to one, so it's hard to criticise.
No, absolutely. So, you know what social media is like, and what the group chats were like at half time. Everybody's heads was down and everybody was getting it. Somebody that I think took a bit of flack on social media in the first half was Mikey Moore. But did that boy come of age in the second half, mate? And will that goal give him the sort of confidence he needs to do it in a fixture like this, that we can get more out of this boy? Because I think you can see, while Schmeichel might have done better, he was in the right position. He was confident enough to take it in his stride first time and fire it away low and hard in the opposite corner for where the goalkeeper was. And how many 18-year-old boys can you say have sort of made their name in this fixture? That is a big moment for him and a big moment for us to sort of kickstart our season with our attack-minded players, because really him and Cheriti going forward now really have to be at least 1 and 2 of the 3 positions that are available in the front 3, correct?
It's interesting because, as I say, the first half I felt as if Ralston absolutely bullied him and made him look like, as Ali McCoist once put it, they all look like wee boys, and I thought that he did in the first half. But the second half, he got on the ball a bit more. Benidorm scored it right. Asgard was getting in his road quite a bit. I thought the two of them were, and they were drawing 2 players onto him. The second half, the goalie scores is unreal. As you say, for an 18-year-old boy, and it actually reminded me of a couple of goals that our own 18-year-old Finlay Curtis scored early in the season. You think of just that he'd down and more or less pass it, bending away for the goalkeeper into the corner. Don't get me wrong, the human pie should have saved it, but just to have the confidence and the composure, because in that moment, Cheriti done it a couple of weeks ago. It's really easy, isn't it, just to get head down, shut the eyes, and put the laces through it and put it right down the goalie's throat. Also, might be a career for him in American football, because the way he juked in between the 2 poles to get in with the fans was quite something. There could be an American football career for him. And he's one, David, that I would like to see, similar to the deal that the Celtic got the boy Roberts for Man City on a kind of 2-year loan. I think if you could get him for another year on top of this season, it might require you to win the league and go into the Champions League for Spurs to release him to you for another year. But playing in games like today and scoring goals, and as you say, in a footballing sense, that will have aged him a couple of years. Do you know what I'm talking about? The experience.
It brings that maturity on the pitch. I get what you're saying, mate.
So he's come into the game today like a wee boy, and he's left like a man, because he's done it, and that's as we said the other day, that's a monkey off his back as well now, because he's done it in the biggest fixture you'll play in as a Rangers player, away at the home of your fiercest rivals, when the game's finally poised at 2-1 to go and slot that'll be some amount of growth for him as a person and as a player. And you've seen it at the end when he was kind of soaking up the adulation of the Rangers fans and they're singing his song, how he looked as if his chest was swollen with pride and just relief. Honestly, I was really happy for him, and he's a player who, if we can get him for an extended period, I would like to see him having he's had 6 months to adapt, and you're starting to see him getting better. Can you imagine how much better he would be next year when the standard of quality run about him goes up as well, Davie? So he's one that I would certainly be keen to see sticking around for an extra bit of time.
It's that old adage, never fall in love with a lone player. We've been scarred by this before, mate. But see if we can take it to one more player before we do a deep dive on the manager, mate. Is Gasama. I want your opinion on Gasama. Because see, in the first half, I don't know what the people in the comments think or what you think, but I thought when he was through one-on-one with Schmeichel, he's surely got to take it round him and just let Schmeichel hit him there. That's going to be a stonewall penalty all day long. But I think he shot himself because Schmeichel was coming at him and tried that wee first-time dink because he was worried about Schmeichel coming for him. Whereas if he just takes the touch to the side to go round him, it's going to be a penalty all day long. But then he does get the assist for Mikey Moore to balance it out in the second half. I felt in the first half as well, I don't know if he had the wrong set of studs on, but every time he got the ball in advanced position, he kept slipping or in about the edge of the park. And I just didn't understand it, mate. So where do you stand on Gasama? How do you sum up his Rangers career so far? Because I think there is promise there, but again, we maybe lack that consistency for him. But do you think he was about a 6, 7 out of 10 today?
Second half, I thought he was actually really good, but the first half, as I say, it looked to me as if he'd filled his nappy, mate. It looked to me as if the whole occasion and the atmosphere had got to him. There was a couple, one dropped to him at the kind of back post on his favoured left side of the park and he took a heavy touch and they cleared it. As you say, every time the ball went near him, he looked as if he was playing on ice skates. So in the second half, he grew into the game. We tweaked it. What I would say, he's definitely naturally better coming in off the left. The one he's, I find it hard to criticise him because as he goes through, he's got three options, hasn't he? He's got smash it and Schmeichel probably saves it. He's got try and go round Schmeichel, but the pace he's running it, can he knock it round and Schmeichel and catch up with it? I don't know. But to be fair, mate, what an effort from him, because he does get his toe under it, and it's more luck than expectation that Schmeichel saves it. Aaron's right. Yeah, like he had probably already covered a couple of K by that point. He don't want to do a 5K to try and get round Schmeichel, do you? So it's like trying to run round the circus TP when he lies down. So I actually thought he was unlucky, mate. I actually thought he showed composure in that instance. Whereas I think if you give him the same chance coming in half hour left, he just bends it into the far corner. I don't think he's got that option when he's coming off the right, and I think you lose a wee bit off him when you play him on the right rather than the left, especially in the first half when he's essentially, because of the way we'd shaped up and Asgard being a missing man in midfield, he was then more of that right wing back than he was playing in the final third, which is where you're going to get the best out of him.
So let's talk about our manager, mate, because we spoke last week in the preview to the game on Hogmanay that we said he needs to get the big game win as early as possible. You could argue that maybe the League Cup semi-final was a bit too soon for him in terms of his tenure. Tynecastle was probably the biggest disappointment that we've had this season because of how passive we were. And the fear was, after the first half of the day, that it had shades of that passiveness repeating itself. However, this is the first day that I think you can safely say he got every one of his tactical tweaks and substitutions correct, and he deserves every bit of credit for it. And also, mate, the fact is, he's took us for, what was it, 8th position in the league when Russell Martin got sacked. We're now 6 points behind the league leaders, and we've to play them twice, and they've got to play Celtic twice and all, and we've got to play Celtic twice as well. So all the points are there to be won in the race for the title. I'll no disrespect Motherwell in that regard. They'll be considered in that sort of group of fixtures as well. But does he deserve turnaround for getting the maximum out of what we all perceive to be a poor squad of players? And is there maybe a bit of an injustice in that? Are we now seeing the fruits of the potential that maybe the hierarchy always thought was there?
So you've gave him a bad tool set, Davie, right? You have gave him a bad tool set, but I've always said that our tool set, if you gave me our tool set and you gave me Falkirk's tool set, or you gave me Dundee's tool set or Dundee United's tool set, there's no many tools I would take out their bag and put in mine before I went to use them. So he's done well. He's done really well because it's not just the ability of the players, is it? They were in the gutter mentality-wise, confidence-wise. So he's brought them out their shell. He's finding ways to win. Sometimes we've said on here, he's maybe for me gives a bit too much respect to teams that I would like us to go and press for the front. But today for me is a milestone because it's the first time for what feels like going back to Gerrard's time, we've had a chance to go and make a statement and we've took it. As you say rightly, 2 weeks ago we had a chance at Tynecastle and we passed it up. So this game of the day for me was must win to prove that we had the balls to go and actually have a go at it. But the thing is, you've won this one. This was must win. So now the two Aberdeen are must win because we now need to go and say, right, we've jumped over that hurdle. We can't then trip over the next two. We've now got to go on a consistent run. And I think we've said it on here before. If you go around a 6, 7, 8 wins in a row in this league, the teams round about you will drop points because I don't think Hearts or Celtic have got a 5, 6, 7 game winning run in them. So that's where I'm at. Danny Rule needs massive plaudits for what he's done with a bad tool set. What I would also like to see now, Davie, is Andrew Kavanagh and the recruitment team, Stiginga Bjornby, Danny Rule, going and making a fist of it in this transfer window. And I don't mean waiting until the end of the window. I mean going and getting quality solutions for problems we've got. So there again, the day, Asgard, you've tried to play in that advanced 10 and he can't do it. So go and get me an advanced 10 so that when we want to play that way, we've got a classy operator there. Go and get me the left back so that I can switch my goal out and do it the new, because we've got a big double header with Aberdeen coming up. So you want to have the options as soon as possible, because see if you then go into the games, Magoma touch Herwood, Magoma gets injured in the first 5 minutes and you're then putting Sterling out to left back. I would rather we went and made a real fist of it in the transfer window and go and get the wee guy the tools that he feels he needs to go and now push on and win this league, because it's within touching distance for us if we can find a bit of consistency.
No, he's working under the mantra of head coach, mate. I'm going to put the question to you. Do you think he's showing signs that he's a proper manager? And by that, I'm meaning man manager in terms of how he's handling players, his tactical tweaks, how he conducts himself in the media. I know we've maybe said that the Chocolate Santa thing at Christmas time was maybe a bit much and stuff like that. But I know he comes across as a nice guy in terms of how the media perceive him, mate. But do you think there's maybe that area of ruthlessness lying under the surface that all sort of proper Rangers managers need to have?
I think that he's fast becoming a figurehead in the mould that Steven Gerrard was. I said to you at the time we got him, I worried that he maybe wasn't qualified. He was the third pick to take the job. He hadn't really had a big job in management, and we had just been stung with Russell Martin, who had all the same hallmarks. Just above average championship career, came in as third choice. People didn't want him, wanted to change the philosophy, blah, blah, blah. So Danny Rule has come in, and I was worried that it was going to be a Russell Martin Mark II. But when you see that he came in, done his traffic light system, ended up getting rid of Stewart and Thelwell, which I believe he had a big hand in through that, highlighting how bad recruitment had been and how much we had wasted money in transfers and whatnot. I also think now that I've had a second kind of pass over of some of the stuff that I had criticised him for, that he's no manipulative, but he knows how to get people on side. And I think that wee daft
persuasive.
Aye, like the wee daft act of giving out the Santas and stuff, that builds an affinity with the media, who maybe would have been on his back a bit more after Tynecastle, but he's starting to build up the kind of wee personal relationships and the wee personal touches with people who are at the end of the day able to tear him down, because the press in this country love nothing more than tearing people down. So I think he's got a bit about him. I think that I underestimated just how much he had about him, and I probably grossly underestimated how important serving his apprenticeship at big teams like the German national team and Bayern Munich and whatever else, with all these big clubs that he was involved with, and an assistant coach, how much he's actually picked up and been a scholar of what was going on round about him, to be able to handle the pressure of being the Rangers manager, but also to tweak it and get all these wee outskirts points and kind of bring them in and turn them into his side. So I've been really, really impressed with him over the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I've really changed my opinion on him. I think I might have actually labelled him on here a pick me at one point at the start when he was going out to the fans and stuff, but I've totally changed my stance on that, and I apologise to him.
I don't know how to make you a mod, Curry. I'm not that advanced with it, mate, but if I work it out, I will make you do it. But mate, No point in cleaning my camera because you'd only just see how ugly I'm on, mate. But it's nice to see that the Manky Mob are joining us in the comments, mate, considering that they just got brutally pumped at their own midden, mate. And it's nice to see that they've decided to join us. But if we look at it then going forward, Ross, we've clawed it back to 6 points now, mate. Is now the time to seize the opportunity in regards to this is the chance that we can pass up, because we've came back for the oblivion and we're now almost within touching distance, and Hearts aren't used to the pressure being applied to them. So now must we put almost the foot on the accelerator now to see how they respond to pressure, because none of this was expected for us under Danny Rule, and he's threw us a lifeline almost in the title race. So now how the players got to meet him halfway and almost seize this opportunity and no pass on it.
I think the players are, Davie. I think the players are fighting for him. I think that they're buying what he's selling. I think that with the right additions for his philosophy, you'll start to see a bit more of his wee sprinklings on it. So the players have definitely got to stay on with them, because if you lose the players, you lose the dressing room, you end up with, well, we know where that leads you. You end up you're bollock naked in Loch Lomond with your manager, man, with his moves out. We don't want that again. We want the players to stay on board. But I think that the telling part is it's the tickly bit in it. We're saying that Hearts are no used to being in a position where they're going to have the pressure of people expecting them now. Heard quite a lot of folk thinking that there's an opportunity for Hearts to go win the league. Some people actually make Hearts favourites to win the league, right? For me, our team have never had the pressure. You look at Cheriti, you look at Magoma, you look at Mikey Moore, you look at Thelo Asgard, you look at Raskin, Diamandi. When have they ever? So I think we'll learn a lot about the team, but the early signs of it for me are really impressive. And I think that there's what is it Phil Clement used to say, we're telling a good story together. The synergy is between the fans and all that part. And I was going to try and do an accent there, but I won't, just in case I offend anybody. But the synergy and the story we're writing at the moment is beautiful. And long may it continue, Davie. Long may it continue.
So with the double header coming up against Aberdeen, mate, and obviously they've not had the best of results at the weekend. How do you see that going? Have we got enough tools in our locker now not to be worried about them and sort of impose ourselves on them by maybe winning ugly and playing the ball forward early and scrapping for second balls? Because that seems to be our most effective way to hurting opposition rather than move the ball from side to side. Because I think we lack the sort of creative tools at the minute in the middle of the park that where you're looking for almost that Steve Davis tin opener, as you mentioned earlier on. We lack that type of player. So in terms of hurting opposition, should we just keep continuing as we are under Danny Rule at the minute?
I think that what he has proven is that he's adaptable and that he'll make tweaks as and when the opposition's past performances demand it. He's not rooted to a singular way of playing, and as he's shown the day in game, he's not scared to make bold selections and changes, and it shows how well coached the players are, that they can flick from one press to a different type of press and from one formation to a different formation. We've got tactical fluidity. When you look at the team today, when you're set out in your 4-2-3-1, but you've got the option of kicking Sterling in one, pulling Gasama, and you've got the players within that who are now versed in playing 2 or 3 different ways. What I would say is the mentality the day was called into question, and they've answered it in spades. So the next question is, Aberdeen play against us as if it's a cup final every single time we play them. Have you now got the mentality to go and play them as if it's a cup final and win the battle, and then let the football win for air? Which is, again, we're going back to the Phil Clement times where we managed to get our noses ahead, and then right after it had 3 stinkers against 3 of the so-called lesser teams in the league. So we've got an opportunity now to prove that we're here, we're in a title chase, and we mean business. And I just hope that starting with the double header against Aberdeen, we go and prove that this today wasn't a one-off, and that even in the so-called lesser games, we can go and win the battle and let our quality shine through at the other side as well.
And mate, obviously, going forward, the January window is now in operation. I asked you last week, what did you think we needed going forward? Has the day's performance and what it means in terms of the title challenge going forward changed your opinion in any way in what you think we might need going forward in terms of adaptability, in terms of formations and personnels and key positions?
No, I still think we need a right winger. If we had a right winger the day Asgard drops out and Mikey Moore plays in the 10, so I still think that right winger, Ant-Man's no hit the ground running the way we thought he would. We definitely need a left back, because you've only got Magoma, and if you're not playing Magoma there, you're putting a square peg in a round hole. We need a centre back, because at the moment you've got Suter and Fernandes. Giga being away at AFCON's been great for us, to be honest with you, even though I don't even think he's played a minute for us at Burkina Faso or something he plays with. He's not even kicked a ball there, so that shows you what £10 million buys you. So I'd like to see he's got a centre half, and I would like to see us getting a player in the Steve Davis mould. So you asked me the other day 4 players I think we need, and that's still the four I would go with. Mark, I see Mark about Penrith as a left back all day long. Said we should have signed him in the summer, and I still also seen somebody else, maybe Mark again. Mate, I would offer Cammy Devlin a pre-contract now at the start of January, and then I would announce it, and then I would go back to Hearts and offer them 400 grand and try and get them in the now, because what you're doing then is weakening your biggest title rivals, and also signing yourself what I feel is a quality player.
So, mate, just to round up then, I take it you enjoyed your Saturday and your New Year, a pleasant surprise today, and do you think it bodes well for the second half of the season going forward?
Aye, it was a pleasant surprise, mate, because I knew we had the ability to go to Parkhead and win, but again, it was just that, can we take the step? Can we take the step and go and prove that we are here and we want to be accounted for? And when you're talking about who's going to win the league, and that was more emphasised by going to Tynecastle 2 weeks ago and not being able to do that. So I feel as if we went to Tynecastle and beat, for my money, still the new Rangers or Celtic will win this league, and we've gave ourselves a real good shot in the arm today, because we've proved we can go to Parkhead, we can play in front of 59,000 of them and 2,500 of us. We'll out-sing them, we'll be louder than them, we'll go there, the players will not be affected. They were affected in the first half. I definitely think that the first half, our players were apprehensive, playing in that cauldron of noise, but the next time you go there, you're going there after the back of beating them, and for me, we should be beating them at Ibrox, and we should be beating Hearts at Ibrox. So that the next round of fixtures could put us in a real good position before the last round of fixtures, where we're going to be going to Tynecastle and Parkhead.
And I think that is a nice place to end proceedings this evening, Ross. I very much enjoyed your company. A big thanks to everybody who joined the podcast for the first time tonight. The numbers have been absolutely incredible. Live, our biggest live stream so far. So we really do appreciate everybody joining, and we hope that you'll continue to follow us between now and the rest of the season. And it just leaves it for me to say, thanks very much, Ross, and we will see you next week, and we'll do it all again. A happy new year from Celtic Park as Rangers beat the Celtic once more. Good night from him, and it's a good night from me. Good night.